Welcome to Pimpy's Investment Chat, where we keep investment talk simple. And here's your host, Pimpy.
What is going on out there, peeps? Okay, so yesterday I dropped a video and I had mentioned about in the past there being a change in the Iraqi dinar exchange rate. And some of the other gurus out there going, man, that's not true, that's a lie. Good Lord, seriously, I'm the one that does all the actual research on this damn thing, all right? So I'm going to go ahead and explain to you where the $1.19 exchange rate came from. But also the report that I'm talking about is going to get into some other details that you should be aware of. And it helps you to get an idea of what direction the Iraqi dinar is going to continue to go into. Before we get started, do me a favor and hit the thumbs up button. And if you're not a subscriber, please do so. Because when you do, it helps out the channel. And I certainly do appreciate it. If you're thinking about buying gold and silver, head on over to our friends at Moneymetals Exchange. The link will be down below in the description. If you are a first-time buyer and you spend more than $100, use promo code Pimpy Silver. Yes, it has changed. PIMPY-SILVER. So if you're watching this video and it's an older video, make sure you check on current videos because the code is going to be changing from time to time from now on. Also, I can be found on other platforms. Everybody knows I have my own website, Pimpy's News Network. Over here, I post videos that I can't get away with over on YouTube. Also, I have a group on Facebook called Pimpy's Investment Chat. Over here, we do talk about gold, silver, cryptocurrencies, as well as foreign currency investments. Come on over here and join us. It's free to do so. You can also come follow me on Twitter, MeWe, YouTube, and Odyssey. The links for all these platforms will be down below in the description. So for whatever reason, if I get removed off of one platform, you could find me on the others. For those of you trying to contact me, right here is my address. Feel free to pause the video, go ahead and write it down and reach out to me. All right, so let's get into the backstory. Okay, so real quick, there's a couple of things people got to understand. You have the official exchange rate, you have the market exchange rate, and then you have what's called the real exchange rate for the Iraqi dinar. We know that recently the Iraqi dinar, the exchange rate changed to 1,300 dinars for every dollar. Currently, right now, the market is showing us an exchange rate of 1,459 dinars for every dollar. That's important to remember. So this is what we're going to talk about. It's called the Bertelsmann Transformation Index. This is a report that comes out every 2 years. It is used by governments around the world. They go through these reports on different countries that help them decide whether or not they want to do trade with a country or whether they want to do any other business opportunities. That's what this report's used for. And the people that work for the BTI are the brainiacs of the world. You can see right here under the use, it says the Bertelsmann Transformation Index is used both by governments around the world to assess partner countries and by international organizations to produce their own analysis. So this report is very important. This is their website right here. Again, it says pretty much the same thing. You come down here and it says about the Transformation Index. The BTI is the result of collaboration of nearly 300 country and regional experts from leading universities and think tanks worldwide. The Transformation Index analyzes and compares transformation process towards democracy and a market economy worldwide and identifies successful strategies for peaceful change. A couple years ago, I did a video on this report and people in the Iraqi dinar community lost their effing minds, man. They went crazy. As soon as I did one, everybody did a BTI report. It's funny. So in the 2016 report, if you scroll on down to the section that says currency and price stability, said the government's monetary policy since 2003 has focused on maintaining price stability and exchange rate predictability. The increase in goods and services imports reduced inflationary pressure, which allowed the Central Bank of Iraq to pursue a monetary and exchange rate policy that successfully tampers inflation. As a result, inflation has remained in the low single digits since 2010, and they still today have very, very low inflation. Which brings me back to the issue with Dr. Shabibi when he was the central bank's governor. Before Iraq went into the Paris Agreement, the agreement was reviewed by Dr. Shabibi. After reviewing the agreement, Dr. Shabibi was against Iraq moving into this agreement. The IMF and the World Bank would work with your creditors, and they would get them to forgive X amount of percentage or X amount of dollars of the debt you owe to all these countries. But in return, you have to use the monetary policies that were established by the IMF and World Bank. Dr. Shabibi was not a fan of it. He said after reviewing it, he'd realized that the monetary policies they wanted Iraq to implement was great at lowering inflation, but it did nothing to help strengthen the exchange rate of the Iraqi dinar. So he fought against it. Eventually, he was talked into signing this agreement. So as he predicted, the inflation stayed low, but the exchange rate of the Iraqi dinar also stayed low, which is what usually happens. Is the United States goes over, bullies the country, beats it up, does whatever. Then they have to rebuild, and in doing so, they usually need the help of the IMF and the World Bank, who come in and control the monetary policies set for the country. And they usually devalue the currency really low, so globalists can come in and establish corporations that really drain each country of their precious resources. So let's continue. According to the CBI, the inflation is around 1.9 back in 2013, and the country's international reserves volume also remained boldly adequate. In January of 2012, the Central Bank of Iraq raised the exchange rate of the Iraqi dinar to $1.19. This caused a huge crisis that led the government to put some pressure on the Supreme Judiciary Council to issue an arrest warrant for Dr. Shabibi on charges of corruption, despite the fact that Iraq budget under Dr. Shabibi from 2003 through 2012 reached nearly $620 billion. Iraq had not had a budget more than $18 billion since 2003. Shabibi received a 7-year prison sentence, but he never did the time. Shortly afterwards, however, he was acquitted of all charges. This goes to the story that I was telling you guys, and that is this. This exchange rate took place when Dr. Shabibi was out of the country. What we find out later on, it was actually Maliki that did it. Maliki was trying to centralize control of the entire government because he wanted to be the next Saddam Hussein. One of those moves was to make Dr. Shabibi look bad. That's why Dr. Shabibi ended up in exile and remained in exile to the day he died. And here's what I'm talking about. Already in January 2011, the independence of the Central Bank of Iraq suffered a setback when former Prime Minister Maliki won a court ruling that placed independent institutions, including the CBI, under the control of the cabinet. It's kind of hard to be the dictator of a country if you don't control the different institutions. Down to the next paragraph, it says the dinar remained widely stable and was worth $1.60 in early 2015. Here's what the Paris Agreement was. The reduction of Iraq's debt to a sustainable level, along with the debt relief negotiations, has been a CBI priority since 2003. This led to an 80% reduction of the Paris Club debt, which is a huge reduction in debt. And you are paying off the debt with cheaper dollars since it's been devalued. So I did the report showing everybody that the exchange rate changed. This happened in 2012. It happened internally, not externally. Nobody in the international community was allowed to take advantage of this. We'll come back to this report here in a moment. 2018, we come back over here. They tell the same story about what happened to Dr. Shabibi, that the exchange rate was changed to $1.19, causing a huge crisis. It said the difference between the official and parallel exchanges increased from 3% in 2015 to 9% in May of 2016. The Central Bank of Iraq introduced a number of policies to keep inflation low. The dinar remained widely stable and was worth $1.71 in early 2017. So keep in mind, you have the real exchange rate, you have the official exchange rate, and you have the market exchange rate. I know it sounds crazy, but when you go through all these reports and you read them, you're like, wow, they actually keep statistics on all the different exchange levels. So in 2018, it said that the dinar was worth $1.71 in early 2017. In 2020, it's very interesting because they don't actually have this section for the currency like they did in the other reports. So here's the 2022 report. Now, this report is interesting to read. If you think about all the things I've been speaking about on my videos that I create, trying to educate people on what it is we need to look for, this report covers a lot of it to give you an idea of what it is that Iraq needs to fix before the Iraqi dinar can have any real major change to its exchange rate. So if you scroll down here, it says organizations of the market and competition. Really good part to read. It talks about what needs to be fixed, what doesn't need to be fixed, what's going on with the World Bank, their assessment, blah, 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 blah. But we keep on coming down here. Now, I've highlighted these issues before in the past when everybody's like, man, Pimp, you don't know what you're talking about. The oil prices are making the currency exchange rate more valuable. So you're wrong. It's not going to go up in increments, blah, blah, blah. And I said, no, there's more to just selling oil when calculating whatever the exchange rate's going to be. And I played several times the criterias that they look for. So this is the 2022 report, and right here you can see this. Insecurity and political instability in the country makes it hard to enforce competition policies. In addition, in the South, Iran has been monopolizing trade in Iraq through its ties with prominent political and militia figures. According to Iran's trade promotional organization, Iran's commodities make up to $10 billion of the total $40 billion in Iraq's imports annually. So that's the other issue and why it is that the United States continues to put the squeeze on Iraq. Their ties with Iran. Iran is under sanctions, but Iraq keeps bailing them out by smuggling currency to them, which is US dollars, or having these types of ties where Iran is running business for that country through Iraq. It continues with, however, rapid corruption and political and security uncertainty in the country remain the biggest challenges for foreign investment. Other challenges that discourage foreign investment include visa requirements, shortage of electricity, customs regulations, and unreliable dispute resolution regulations, which is all the things I spoke about in the past. One of the things that can help the economy grow in Iraq is outside investors. They would be able to create jobs, give people employment, add more to the amount of taxes that are collected, less people on welfare, less people on cash aid or government aid. But foreign investors are discouraged about investing into Iraq because of what I just highlighted. Once that starts to taper down, then more people will come in and there will be less reliance on oil sales. Monetary and fiscal policy, you can see right here, the Iraqi dinar is pegged to the US dollar, which is conducive to maintaining the low level of inflation. So before the recent replacement of the Central Bank of Iraq's governor, Mustafa, before he was replaced, remember it says he was tasked with addressing several challenges. One unresolved issue is the looting of $800 million that the IS stole from the country's bank between 2014 and 17. And the IS is, we're talking about ISIS, the terrorist group. So when I keep telling you guys, Iraq has been trying to figure out and account for a lot of their currencies. That's another reason why you're not going to see a major change with this current currency. There's too much of it in the hands of some very corrupt people. If you change the exchange rate, then you might have the possibility of enriching a large terrorist group. And that's not what you want to do. That's why I'm saying before they actually do any real super major changes to the currency, they're also going to redenominate it. In other words, change the way the currency looks. It's almost unavoidable. At the same time, you're going to see the deletion of the zeros. It's going to happen at the same time. It says, of a more structural nature is the Iraq's economy overall petro-dollarization, with the country's foreign currency reserves closely linked to the global oil market. Therefore, any drop in oil prices decreases Iraq's foreign reserves. The 2020 drop in oil prices destabilized the monetary system. And the reason why it destabilized it is because 94% of the budget is financed through oil sales. So if something happens to the oil market, it kills the economy and the budget over there in Iraq. Right here it says, by default, the Iraqi dinar had a devalue by 22.7% in December of 2020 to achieve a balance in country's deficit. This devaluation caused further public discontent as it led to increases in the price of exports and commodities. One of the things that gives the Iraqi dinar strength is the citizens' confidence in their own currency. If they've tried to circumvent the use of the currency and use US dollars, well, then it devalues their currency and increases the value of the United States dollar in that country. The CBI was forced to comply with the US sanctions against Iran. At first, the US administration warned Iraq not to trade with Iran using the US dollars, a move intended to decrease Iran's access to the currency. And that's the same problem we're having now, and that's why you see sanctions were put on the bank. Back in 2020, instead of doing business in US dollars, they were given permission to do business in Iraqi dinars, and at the time, Iran agreed with it. So all these things play a huge part in determining the exchange rate of the Iraqi dinar. In the past, I've done videos about this exchange rate. You can see right here, it says the CBI raised the exchange rate of the Iraqi dinar to $1.19. Here it's saying as of 2016, the CBI introduced a number of policies to keep inflation low. The dinar remained widely stable and was worth $1.71 in early 2017. Anyways, I just wanted to explain to you guys